joining us, and I have a very special guest today. So I want to introduce you to the chair of IFPA, which is Ian, sat here right with me. Thank you so much for being willing to do this with me, Ian. It's so good.
It's my very great pleasure.
So good. So some of you hopefully should know, and if you don't, if you just joined IFPA, then Ian has just taken on the role as chair of IFPA and is doing a grand job behind the scenes. So I thought it'd be really nice just to get Ian in front of you guys and just asking some questions, some formal ones, some not so formal ones, and just get to know the man behind the role, if that's okay. So Ian, thank you again so much. So tell me, we'll start very formal and professional. Tell me, what has been your role in IFPA? So we're aware that this is not maybe a new role for you, that you've been involved somewhere in the past. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your relationship with IFPA?
Well, I've been involved with IFPA right from before it began.
Great.
Back in sort of 1999, 2000, I was chair of ISPA, the International Society for Professional Aromatherapists, and working with Gabriel Moje, the immediate past chair, who was chair of the Register of Qualified Aromatherapists, the RQA, and with Linda Rawton Jay, who was the chair of the IFA, the International Federation of Aromatherapists. We worked together along with working parties drawn from the executives, the committees of all three organisations, who initially lay down all the criteria that needed to be in place to create IFPA. So the three organisations jointly worked on combining our respective requirements for membership, looking at all the everything that people needed to know, and also looking at all the other aspects of a professional body, merging together, taking what was really effective from everybody, to which ultimately led to the creation of the IFPA. We asked it was the members that chose the name. The members of the three organisations chose the name. We also got them to choose a logo. The logo's moved on, which was totally appropriate. But members, we wanted to involve everybody in the decisions, and leading to the creation of the IFPA. And then for the first year, Gabriel, Linda, and I acted as co-chairs. And then once we got those early teething difficulties out of the way, I stood for election as the chair, and I was the first elected chair of the IFPA.
Oh, that's so nice. And when was that? What year
That
was
would have been, I think 2001 to 2003 was my elected term in the chair, I think.
And so when did the IFPA start? What year was that?
I think it was 2000 or 2001. I can't remember, to tell you the truth. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, so that means we're coming up to our 20th anniversary. I knew it's a wedding anniversary then. You and me.
Now people will start to talk, Karen. That was going to be our secret. That was.
It's out there now.
Yeah.
So it will be sort of the 20th anniversary.
Coming up soon. I don't quote me on the dates.
We'll need to find that out.
Within the next year or so, yeah.
We need to do some digging around and have an IFPA party, I think.
Yeah.
So, well, that's really nice. So, going back a little bit further than that then, so how did you become an aromatherapist, and what's your background?
My background is I messed up my A-levels and left school at the end of the sixth form, and went to work for a company called ICI, a big multinational chemicals company.
Oh, wow.
And I
just interrupt. What A-levels did you do?
What A-levels did I not get? I had chemistry and physics and pure and applied maths.
Oh, so nothing like too easy then?
No. I made life as difficult for myself as I could.
You really?
But anyway, I joined ICI in the plastics division, which is in Welwyn Garden City, which is about 20 miles north of London.
Yeah.
And I worked doing speculative research, airy-fairy stuff into plastics. No, plastics these days have a very bad press.
They really do.
I heard on the radio this morning that even saying that we should do away with Christmas jumpers because they're only warm for a week or so, and they're made of plastic. Well, I think that's getting a bit carried away. But I was working on high performance engineering thermoplastics, which are the sort of things that find their way into mobile phones, into aeroplanes, into satellites, things like that. So that was my background. Then I was fortunate in that I was allowed to go to college on a part-time basis. So as long as somebody else was prepared to pay for me to go, so I just carried on. And so I did an ONC in chemistry and an HNC in chemistry.
Great.
Then I did a degree in chemistry, all part-time. And then they decided that, the company, I sent me off to Loughborough University for a year to do a master's degree.
Wow.
And then I moved from plastics division to another part of ICI in the northeast of England, up in Middlesbrough. And there I worked on, again, they were plastics, but these were known as thermosetting plastics, the sort of things you find in fiberglass boats, stuff like that.
Okay.
I worked on those materials there. So my background was very much material science. And I went one or two other places along the way, but still in that same area. And then I was made redundant.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever been there. You apply for jobs and you see the list of things they're looking for, and you can tick all the boxes. So you apply, and then it seems to me that if you tick all the boxes, then at least they should see you. And if they don't like you or you don't like them, it finishes. Well, when I couldn't get interviews for jobs where I ticked all the boxes, I thought in the end I'm not going to do this anymore. And I wish I could say I had this sort of blinding light that said go forth and be an aromatherapist, but there wasn't. No. So I think aromatherapy, I rather like the idea of working with natural things, having spent all my working life working with synthetics. I think the idea of working with natural things, working with plant-based things, somehow it just appealed. So in the very early 90s, I trained as an aromatherapist with what was then the Northern School of Aromatherapy up in Yorkshire. And that's how I got into aromatherapy.
So it's a bit of a turnaround, quite a difference.
It was a big change.
The other, yeah.
But my background then informed what I ultimately came to do. Yeah. I was. Have you ever been to one of those sort of parties in the evenings? You don't really know anybody, and you sort of stand around holding your drink. Yeah. Smiling and wondering what you're going to say to somebody. Well, I got into a conversation with a man, and we had man conversations. Where you don't talk about each other at all. You do things like, where have you been on holiday, or where are you going on holiday? But finally, he asked me what I did, and this was it. Yeah. I came out as an aromatherapist. So I said, because I just finished training, so I sort of took a deep breath, holding my drink, and I said, I'm an aromatherapist. And he smiled and said, oh, interesting, and edged away rapidly. But there was a lady behind me who I hadn't noticed, who tapped me on the shoulder and said, excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I'm an aromatherapist too.
No way!
Yeah. I nearly gave her a hug and a kiss. Yeah. Anyway, it turned out she had a friend who was running a school of aromatherapy, because my aromatherapy qualification at that stage wasn't suited. No, I wouldn't have got into IFPA. I'd just gone to a college of education. Yeah. And she was the IFPA had just changed its syllabus. Yes. So there's just a little bit of chemistry. Yeah. And a lot of principals who do do most of the teaching themselves are a bit uncomfortable about teaching the chemistry. Yeah. So she said, would you be interested in teaching chemistry? Well, the only teaching I'd done to that date was to teach my children to use the potty, but I thought, well, I can cope with that.
Practical enough.
Yeah. So suddenly I had the opportunity to do some teaching, just simple chemistry, and I was paid for that by doing additional work, additional studying. Yeah. So I was then had the background that I could apply to join the ISPA. Wow. And that's how I got into being a aromatherapist and also starting to teach. And I still do a little bit of teaching now.
Oh, do you? Who do you teach for now?
I teach for Gabriel at the Institute of Traditional Herbal Medicine and Aromatherapy, and
Yeah.
I teach for Neil's Yard
Oh, brilliant.
in London. But back in the late 90s, I was out most weekends doing chemistry days for a
Yeah.
whole variety of schools.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting.
And then also by accident, I ended up being aromatherapy advisor to Boots the chemist.
Oh. Oh,
I
wow.
I just got a phone. I just got a phone call one day.
Yeah.
They were looking to develop a web-based project for complementary healthcare, and they were looking for people. I was the aromatherapist. There was somebody else who was a herbalist, and and an osteopath. And
Oh,
we worked
that's
together
really cool.
with Boots to
Yeah.
develop this sort of web-based platform.
Mm.
But that was an accident. It just happened. You
And nothing's an accident. It's all
know.
planned.
Yeah.
All planned. Okay, so so you've stepped back into this role as chair, and it must be obviously nearly 20 years ago, around and about,
Yeah.
since you were in the role last or first then. So how have you seen IFPA change over the last like 20 years? Have you been involved all the way?
No.
No, okay.
I came back briefly, but work
Yeah,
got in the way, and I couldn't give the
yeah,
IFPA the time it deserved.
yeah.
So I stepped back from that, and then I
Mm,
came back about 2-3 years ago
yeah,
when Gabriel and I both had concerns about the way that IFPA seemed to have lost its way somehow.
yeah,
And things have to change. Things have to be dynamic. It wasn't the fact
yeah,
that we wanted to get back to the good old days, but it lost its way, and we were both concerned, and along with others,
yeah,
took steps to try and bring things back and moving in the direction that it had always been planned. So that's what brought me back into
mm,
um, IFPA and the board, and then Gabriel, as chair, has really worked hard to
mm,
get the original ethos of
mm,
IFPA, so that was perhaps forgotten.
mm,
And so me taking up the baton from him, to me,
mm,
was a natural thing.
yeah,
So it just allows me to continue to build on the things that the board have been doing. And
yeah,
then we have a very new board. You are an example of that.
yeah,
But people some have been on the board for a couple of years, others new. It's to continue, really. I see my role as supporting
mm,
the new members, including the people who've been on for 2 years, who might be a bit upset
mm,
at being referred to as being new, but
mm,
to support them,
mm,
to enable them to take the IFPA forward, and it needs new people, fresher people. It needs people who are completely au fait. I mean, me doing this with you is a bit mind-boggling to me. So it needs people who just can take all this in their stride. You know,
mm.
I'm very much, when I'm texting, it's one finger, and to see people going mad with their thumbs or whatever, I'm just baffled. So it's time for dinosaurs like me, I think, to gradually step back
Oh
and get.
no!
No, I didn't
Yeah,
say
yeah.
retire into a dark hole somewhere, but
Good,
to
good.
step back and say, okay, guys, now this is yours now. And I
Mm,
think the things we've been talking about, the web-based things, the webinars, the
mm,
blogs,
mm,
the having web page. We already has, as you know, we already have a web page in Japanese
mm,
because of the large numbers of Japanese members we're
yeah,
fortunate to have.
yeah.
We want to get to develop, and probably will in the next year or so, a web page in Mandarin for the
Mm,
Chinese members.
mm,
These are things we couldn't know, which
mm,
not only weren't possible, hadn't even been thought of when we started off. And
yeah,
it needs you. It needs people who are completely au fait and comfortable
yeah,
with these with these modern ways of communicating,
yeah,
and with all the advantages that they have in terms of speed and
yeah.
just getting information to people quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So you briefly mentioned there about IFPA having lost its way and coming back to its sort of original ethos and function. Can you explain what that is? What do you see as the function of IFPA to its members, and what is the vision and the ethos behind IFPA?
Well, I like to think that, I don't know if you call this a tag, you're great good, but my tag would be IFPA, putting the professional into aromatherapy. How about that?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. That's good.
I don't know if it is a tag, but anyway,
I think you just made it one.
because I think that's what it's about. That there are so many complementary healthcare modalities. There's also the really rather weird and wonderful ones as well,
Yeah.
which I would term as alternative. And I think aromatherapy as a therapy, as a modality, deserves to be taken seriously.
Yes.
And we as aromatherapists deserve to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And that means being professional. It means totally professional in the way we are with our clients, but it means professional in everything about the organization, which are the things that we're looking to do. So the work we're starting with the Professional Standards Authority, and which there was a piece in the Current, in essence, about. I see this as vital. For people that don't understand, the Professional Standards Authority monitors the statutory regulated healthcare professions. So doctors, nurses, opticians, osteopaths, chiropractors even, and all the professions allied to medicine all have professional bodies that regulate them. And if they do not follow the guidelines, if they do not follow the correct procedures, they can be struck off the registers. And if they're struck off, they cannot work. You cannot call yourself a doctor if you've been struck off the register. So, and the Professional Standards Authority makes sure that the regulatory bodies are doing their work. Now,
so
we, of course,
as a clinical aromatherapist, then, if we have this accreditation, would you call it, with PSA? Recognition with the PSA, if we then approach a doctor or an osteopath or chiropractor with this recognition, that they would then look at that and go, okay, so you're coming under the same standard as what we're coming under, and would give us kudos with that set of professionals.
It would certainly do that, because we're always going to come back to the fact that aromatherapy, all complementary healthcare professions, are voluntarily regulated. In other words, we have our rules. And if one of our members is deemed to have broken those rules seriously, we can remove them from our register. We can strip them of membership, but we cannot stop them from being an aromatherapist. They can either carry on if they can get insurance, or they can maybe go and join another professional body. And that's always how it's going to be. But getting the IFPA and its procedures and its safeguards approved by the Professional Standards Authority means that's the next best thing to being statutory regulated. It means the body that looks over the statutory regulators is also looking over us. And I think to members of the medical profession, that will mean a lot, because it's as close as we can get to being regulated without being regulated. That's why, that's a big part to me of putting the professional into aromatherapy. And really it's all about safeguarding the public.
And how much work and effort is this for sort of the board of trustees and for us as an organization as a whole? Is it just a matter of putting an A4 folder, here's our policy and stuff, there you go, thank you very much?
Would that it was that easy. they need, bear in mind, as I just said, this is all about safeguarding the public. So what they need to see is documentary evidence that we have in place procedures that safeguard the public. They're not so much bothered about us using essential oils. because that's specific. What they're looking at is the overall way in which we approach our interaction with the public. Yes, they would expect to see that our members are properly trained, that all the safety issues, etc., are in place. But they'd be wanting to see about safeguarding, about how we deal with children, with parental approval, how we work with people with carers, how we get permissions and things like that. So that's what it's about. There is a lot of work involved.
Yeah.
As you know, Judy Foster is leading on this, and she will need a lot of input from everybody.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's key. Yeah. Because if we are to still be in existence in another 10 years' time, then we must have demonstrated that we are worthy of consideration by a member of the public who wants to come and see an aromatherapist. There will always be people who join organisations which are less demanding, organisations which can't be bothered or can't afford, probably don't see the need to do anything with the PSA. So it would be important for us to really emphasise the difference between us and other organisations who come under the PSA banner and those that don't. Yeah. Because, and that's the making the IFPA professional. That's giving our members a truly professional cachet.
Yeah. So that kind of leads on quite nicely in the into my next question of so you have a 2-year position as chair now of IFPA. What do you see? What would what would you like to achieve in your role as chair, and what would you like to see us as a collective achieve for IFPA and move IFPA forward in the next 2 years?
Well,
other than the PSA.
Other than the PSA, well, the PSA is going to be a significant part of all that. But I think that with Trello and things like that, what I want to do is for the individual members of the board who where we have subgroups, which will happen. You know, the people who have a specific area of responsibility and a couple of people working with them. What I want to see happen is those people will go away and do the things that they've come to the board and said, this is what we're going to do. And the board says, go forth and do it. Yes. That we have a meeting, you know, our regular monthly meeting, and there's a report back. This is what we've done, ... and then move swiftly on. So all this is happening under the surface. Really means I can sit back with a large cup of coffee and not worry about anything.
With your Teflon shoulders, you go and do that. So I think maybe if I reword that, what you would like in your role as chair is to see things getting done.
Yeah. See things getting done. Yeah. To an agreed timetable. Yeah. And with all the things being done, you're going to talk, as long as you don't talk about Brexit being done, I don't mind.
Let's not even go there. There's not enough lavender oil in the world to combat that conversation.
But so that although these subgroups are working separately, in actual fact working to a common aim, which is to put the IFPA on the map, but to putting the professional into professional aromatherapy. Yeah. That's what I want to happen.
And then I think the other thing that would be really nice, there's some of the feedback that we had from the CPD day from members was that they really felt like there had been a shift within our IFPA community, that it was starting to feel like a community. You know, the Facebook group had really nice interaction with it, and that it felt like a safe place to be able to ask questions that you weren't sure of, and that you would get an answer, but that it would be a positive answer with encouragement rather than something not quite so positive maybe. So there seems to have been a shift where you said that maybe 2-3 years ago IFPA felt like it's lost its way a little bit, and it's now come a little bit full circle of, hang on a minute, this is not just the IFPA of the trustees or the IFPA from the girls in the office. It's now, this is your IFPA and we're doing this together. And actually when the chips were down, everybody came in and, right, I'll take this bit, I'll take that bit, and let's get IFPA strong again. And it would be nice to kind of continue to carry that sense or that feeling of, this is our IFPA, not, you know, your IFPA or Gabriel's IFPA. This is ours, and IFPA being strong and having a strong voice in the world of professionals is going to benefit us all. So how do like new members and current members and members maybe that have been involved in the past, how do they make this their IFPA? Can they get involved? Obviously the board is full with trustees at the moment, but what about a lesser involvement? Is there a place where people can get involved, that can help, that can, you know, in essence is such a fantastic resource, so nice to be able to sit and read that. Can people help with that? Or is there roles available for those that maybe could have an hour a month to spend on something to strengthen IFPA or to move it forward?
I think there is, because hopefully what we managed to achieve is to give ownership of IFPA back to the members. I mean, the role of the board is to serve the members. That's what it's all about. And so I think that answering questions, being there to provide assistance, is all part of that. I think belonging to regional groups is a good way in which people can keep this ownership, because stuff can be channeled through to the board, through the regional groups. Setting up a regional group, because we could do with more and more of them. And there is help available when somebody's starting off with to create a regional group. There's a modest amount of money that we make available, and things like that, which involves people. In terms of, in essence, as you well know, is all looking for things that can go in. I think there's always place for well-written case studies. People love to read of other people's success. Of course, we're holistic. It doesn't mean to say just because I've got a particular blend that worked well for this person with this problem, it will be the same for you. But it lets you see the thought processes, and then maybe you try it and it does work, or you think, oh no, I think if I take that out and put that in, it just starts people thinking. So I think there's always a place, in essence, for well-written case studies with follow-up. So there. When it comes to organising AGMs and conferences and moving them around the country, I'm sure there are ways there in which aromatherapists in the area could help out in terms of visiting venues or helping set things up. It doesn't. So it's not just left to one or two people on the board. That there are people in that area who can help and assist, which I think getting involved in those sorts of things is always a good way of supporting an organisation, and I see it happening like that.
So I guess what you're saying is that obviously, you know, every member of the board has a certain area of IFPA that they are channeling their focus on, but it would be brilliant to have members with certain skill sets. For example, if someone has a skill set specific for marketing or event planning or writing or journalism or anything, if they wanted to get involved with IFPA and donate maybe, you know, an hour a month or an hour every other month, or maybe just once a year helping out with CPD events or conferences, that they would be welcome to do that.
Yeah, all contributing to a blog.
Yes.
Notice that was me being up to date.
I like that. And the person who's creating the blog, i.e. me, yes, content, yes, most definitely. Yeah. I think that's really important. And especially, you know, we've kind of said that this PSA project is massive, and for us to be able to do that, some things have to be put down, and yet there's always so much more we can be doing with IFPA, and there's only so much time available. As a volunteer group, there's only so much time, because we have...
We must never forget the fact that we are volunteers.
Yeah.
And that means that sometimes we can't do the things we want to do, or it takes slower. I just thought of something else. How about, our members work in a whole variety of ways. Some with their own clinic, some working with a space that they maybe rent from somebody else.
Yeah.
Some working in gyms, some working in hotels, some working in hospitals, hospices. How about a day in the life?
That would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
And then individuals can, look at Tsutomomi on the board, Japanese aromatherapist, who's also a Buddhist priest. It's just occurred to me, there's a whole, there's something there which could be in essence, or could be on the web.
It would be, and kind of keeping that community feel. It would be nice to kind of connect with people who are doing something different out there as well, if they're happy to contact the office so that we can gather information. Even if people aren't comfortable to write it, we can get someone to, write something around information that we're given.
You got me thinking now, going back to...
Oh, there's no stopping you now. Stop now, because my job list is going to be, right, Ian, I'll write that down. We'll do that next.
You see, you asked me what I wanted to do, and I said my aim is to give everybody else all the work. But something that happened in IFPA was we set up subgroups, not necessarily with meetings, but we put people in touch who had a common interest. And we had a very large group who were interested in essential oils with animals. And they exchanged it. It's so much easier now, you see. We didn't have emails.
I just thought, what we should be doing? These regional groups that we're talking about, maybe we should have some online regional groups with a common interest.
Yeah. Because what we did then is, when we had our AGMs and conferences with this, you'll like this, were frequently 2-day events.
Oh yes, I do like that.
And what we would do is then this would give the opportunity, but bear in mind this is not before Zoom and Skype and all like that. This would give people who could come to the conference, and then we would allocate an hour or 2 hours, late afternoon say, for the different groups to meet. And discuss their area of interest face to face. Yeah,
that's nice. That's nice.
Put that. I don't mean there may be. Have you got members working with people recovering addicts? Do we have members? Heard somebody talking at an early IFPA conference who worked with prisoners. It was a female aromatherapist who was working in prison with female offenders. So that's why I say members of IFPA take aromatherapy into a whole variety of areas.
Yes, this is the thing. It's one title, aromatherapist, and yet it has so many different variants to it, isn't it? Where it can take you, where it leads you. Is absolutely vast. It would be great to find out who's doing what, so we can get blogs or recordings like this, or however we can create contact. But it would be great to have more members involved with what we're doing, just to strengthen the organization, wouldn't it? Okay, finishing on one final question. What is your favorite essential oil?
My favourite essential oil is benzoin.
Okay, so you put that in your blend, which I put on our social media recently. So why do you like benzoin?
I like it.
You've pronounced it different to I do. Now, because I'm Welsh, I pronounce everything different, but you said it definitely differently.
How do you say it?
Benzoin.
Well, that's how I used to say it. I used to call it benzoin,
Maybe you
but then everybody else called it benzoin. So I changed.
Oh.
Maybe I got some Welsh blood.
Maybe.
Well, I did live in North Wales for a bit, but that was a long
Well, there
time.
we go. That'll do. That'll do. It's close enough. They're proper Welsh as well. Not like me.
All I can do is Lost Star, I think.
Yeah, that'll do.
But I just like the smell. I just think it's lovely. And I like history, and I like the fact that back in Tudor times, leather was very expensive.
Okay.
Which is why if you look at portraits of people around the time of Queen Elizabeth I,
Mm.
they always wear their rings on the outside of their gloves. I don't know if you've ever noticed that.
No.
Yeah. Well, next time you're looking at a picture,
Is that in films?
they always wear the rings on. They wear gloves a lot, and they always wear the rings on the outside. It's because the leather was expensive, and if you've got a ring as well, you want people to admire your jewelry.
Yeah.
But wearing a glove was a sign of expense. But the tanning process was appalling.
Okay.
Which is how essential was, as you know, sort of developed in the Grasse region in France. It was to overcome the stench of the poorly tanned leather.
Right.
And Queen Elizabeth I, her leather things, to keep them smelling sweet, they used ground up benzoin resin.
Oh, really?
And she used to call it her Sweet Benjamin.
Oh, really?
And I quite like the story.
I love that. That's really nice. Yeah, I love benzoin. Benzoin. I quite like that pronunciation.
I'm going to call it benzoin now.
Yeah, I'm going to call it benzoin.
That's how I used to call it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share with the IFPA members?
Just let me look at my crib.
Okay. That's proper organised.
No, my crib are the questions that you sent me, you see. I just printed them off to make sure. I don't think so. I think I want people to enjoy being aromatherapists.
Yeah.
And to enjoy being a member of the IFPA.
Yeah.
That's what I would love to happen.
Yeah.
So that people will share, people ask questions, people may get agitated or excited at times, but underpinning it all is genuine enjoyment at the profession they've chosen and at an enjoyment of the way in which the IFPA supports them in that profession. Because that's what we're here for. The organisation is here to support the members.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's when Gabriel and I reared up on our hind legs and sort of said, well, no, the support's not there.
Yeah.
People aren't enjoying it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's what I want. I want people to enjoy aromatherapy.
Yeah.
I want people to enjoy being members.
Yeah.
And if at the end of 2 years, all I personally and we as a board have managed to do is to put a smile on every aromatherapist's face, then I'll be quite happy.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That is a great vision. I'll definitely follow you with that vision. Ian Cambray Smith, you're an absolute gem. Thank you so much for spending this time with me.
It's been my very great pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Great.
Bye.